Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about emotional skills. So in this module, you will see what is motivational skills, what do you mean by the conflict management. So first, we will see from where this emotion word has been come. Actually, the word is derivative of a Latin word called emovere, which means to stir up or agitate or disturb or excite. So that is the word meaning stands for. We can define the emotion as it's a mental thinking or a feeling of a person at a particular instant of a time, knowingly or unknowingly. Emotions are a complex psychological and biological responses consisting of a subjective feelings. Subjective feeling means what maybe we feel gloomy for several days without knowing of any reason. So that is what do you mean by a subjective feeling, and also consisting of a subjective feeling, physiological reactions, and expressive behaviors. Our emotions are our feelings are always expressed in the terms of emotions, is it? So emotions are complex psychological and biological responses that consisting of a subjective feeling, physiological reactions, and expressive behaviors to internal and external stimuli. So we will see in detail about what you mean by the emotional skills. What is emotional skills? Emotional skills can be also known as emotional intelligence. That is the capacity of recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves, for managing emotions in ourselves as well as in our relationship. Actually, it is a kind of a intelligence or a skill that able us to recognize our own feelings at the same time others also. And also it help us, such skills help to motivating ourselves for managing emotions in ourselves as well as in our relationships. So this emotional skill is a critical to managing our behavior. It helps to move smoothly through the social situations, the situation where we are normally engaging and making critical choices in life. Emotional skills are essential for connecting with others because it helps us to manage our different emotions, and it helps to build a healthy relationship with others and feel empathy. Now we will see the importance of emotional skills. It gives us the ability to be present and listen to someone when they most need it. If the emotional skills, actually it gives us an ability to be present and listen to someone when they most need it. And it is a very useful skill to prevent making decisions based on emotional biases or emotional partiality. If the emotional partiality is there, uh, definitely such a skill help us to prevent a making decision based on such partialities. The value and the benefits of such skill, it is a vast in terms of personal, academic, and professional success. The person who is having a high emotional skill is a definitely he never surrender in front of some negative impacts of stressors. At the same time, he can help the individuals who deal with the negative emotions, and he can promote more positive emotions in the place of that negative emotions. And intellect works, the works which need more intellectual base, it will be accompanied by high emotional intelligence. The work outcome will be a very best. Utilizing and developing emotional intelligence in the workplace can greatly improve both job performance and the social capabilities of individuals within that workplace. So if we utilize and if we develop our emotional intelligence in our workplace, it helps us to improve both our job performance and our social capabilities within the workplace. Next is motivational skills. So let's see what this motivation stands for. Motivation is defined as a willingness to do work or the intensity of a person's desire to engage in an activity. Motivation is an inferred process or an assumption process that drives or a direct encouragement and inspiration of an individual to move towards his goal. So motivation always keep us to be engaged in that particular activity till our goal has reached. Now we will see what is personal motivation. All of us have a desire or a wish to achieve something in our life, something important, of value, of quality, or of meaning. So, being motivated to meet our goal means that we are able to improve self confidence, enhance self discipline, stretch expectations beyond our perceived limits. So, the more we are able to achieve, the more self confident we become. So, more we achieve or more we reach our goal, then more we become self confident ourselves. So, that is what you call a personal motivation. Now we will see what is work motivation. So by motivating people at workplace, they can be encouraged to be and do their best, resulting in job satisfaction improvement, increase in effort. So by motivating, it help we will be perform our best. So we will put more effort for reaching our goal. So there is an increase in effort, and it help us to improve our work environment also. So our drive or our wish or our wish that is created and focus on the results, our direction of our move, that will be created and it will be focused on our goal. Then team become skilled as a whole. So finally, the team will become more skilled by doing or such performance. We will become more skilled people. To motivate employees, manager has to understand their need, their expectations, and to find out their drive of action. So for motivating the employees, a manager, he should understand what is their need and what are their expectations, and we also be able to find out their direction of action also. The managers need to understand everyone's perspective, has to employ non-traditional and creative terms to motivate each employee individually. Non-traditional, you means non-traditional means like non-traditional and creative terms means we can give some compensations. Compensation can be given in the term of a finance, like rewards can be given, or we can give some gift like a gift coupon for the best performance of the particular employee. We can give some motivation in the form of a compensation gift, and sometimes recognition can be given, like the best employee of that particular month. We can select that person as a best employee of that particular month. So such are the a kind of a non-traditional and creative terms of motivations. Okay. So here motivations are two types: internal or intrinsic motivation and external or extrinsic motivation. So first we will see what is intrinsic or internal motivation. Actually, this motivation refers to the motivation that is driven by an interest or enjoyment in the task itself and exists within the individual rather than relying on an external pressure. That is, in this kind of activity, the person who is doing that particular, the person who is having the internal motivation, he is enjoying the particular task. For example, that you are reading a book, is it? Because you're enjoying the reading and have an interest in story or a subject rather than the reading. That is an example for the intrinsic motivation. So it is based on taking pleasure in an activity rather than working towards an external reward. So from the example, we can say that you are reading the book because you are enjoying the reading. So that is what it explained in this sentence. Now, people who are intrinsically motivated are more likely to engage in the task willingly as well as work to improve their skills, which will increase their capabilities. So that is what you mean by the intrinsic motivation. Next is external or extrinsic motivation. This refers to the performance of an activity in order to attain an outcome. It comes from outside of the individual. Common extrinsic motivations are rewards like money and grades and threat of punishment. competition is in general extrinsic because it encourages the performer to win and beat others, not simply to enjoy the intrinsic rewards of the activity. So we can say that extrinsic motivation, it is mainly a reward driven behavior. For example, like a praise, fame, money, they are used here as a motivation for the that particular or that specific activity. So these are few intrinsic and extrinsic motivation causes. In intrinsic, pride, attitude, belief, sense of achievement, responsibility. So these are considered as a motivation. So here, these are few examples for the intrinsic motivation. In the case of extrinsic, like money, social approval, fame, fear, are few examples for the extrinsic motivations. Now, next is improving motivation. These are the three key interventions that may improve people's motivation. The first one is setting of performance goal. The first one is setting of performance goals. That is, setting goals means it indicate and give direction to an employee about what needs to be done and how much efforts are required to be put in. A clear, particular, and difficult goals are greater motivating factors than easy, general, and vague goals. So next is provision of a performance assistance. Actually, that can be attained by doing certain things like we need to regularly assess the employee's ability, and we should provide the necessary trainings to them. We need to secure the resources need. So these are the few things which we can do for attaining the performance assistance. Next is provision of performance feedback, because a feedback is a very important because people need feedback on their efforts, because they have to know where they stand in terms of current performance and long term expectations. So next is 7 rules of motivation. The first is set a major role but follow a path. We need to finish our job what we start. Next is socialize with others of the similar interest. It will help us to get motivated. Then we should learn how to learn. That is another important point. Harmonize natural talent with interest that motivates. Another rule is increase knowledge of subject that inspires, and all take risk. So these are the 7 rules of motivation. Now next part is the conflict management. So what is conflict? Conflict means a dispute or quarrel between the people. Conflict is a process that begins when one party perceives that another party has negatively affected or is about to negatively affect something that the first party cares about. So a conflict will start when one party perceives that another party has negatively affected. For one party, it is a positive thing, and the second party is considering it as a negative thing. So naturally, there will be a quarrel or a dispute will take place between the two parties. So there are few reasons why this conflict has happened. The first is incompatibility of goals, means the goals between groups is not matching, which lead to conflict. Next is differences over interpretation of facts. Interpretation means we are clarifying. The differences over interpretation of facts means we are interpreting or clarifying the facts differently. Different peoples are clarifying their down in a different ways. So that will also cause us some conflicts. Next is over expectations. That means expecting more without saying what we truly expecting from them. So these are the few reasons for the occurrence of conflict. Now, here are the 3 views of conflict. The first one is traditional view of conflict. This view believes that it is a traditional belief that a conflict should not happen in an organization because it will cause harmful to both the employees and the organization. So that is the traditional view of conflict. The second view is human relation view of conflict. So this view is believe that this is a natural conflict is a happening conflict is a natural way, and it is an inevitable outcome in any group. So that is the second view of conflict. And the third view is interactionist view of conflict. In the third view, it believes that the conflict is not only a positive force in a group, but at the same time, it is essential for a group to perform effectively. So all these three views of conflict give two types of conflicts. That is, one is functional, another is called dysfunctional. The functional conflict is considered as a positive conflict because it add or tend to add the overall performance of the individual or the group. So that is why it is called a positive conflict. And in dysfunctional, it is considered as a negative conflict because it tends to create a hindrance to the individual or a group activities. Okay, so that's why it is considered as a dysfunctional conflict. Now we will see what are the functional conflict outcomes. The first one is increased group performance. A positive competition that will be there between the two groups for gaining better position. Because in a normal class, if a person who is holding a first position, he want to keep his position for long last. But in the person who in second position, he want to become the first. So there will be a cold war will be happens between the two individuals. So that is what you mean by the increased group performance, because a positive competition will be there between the two groups for gaining a better position. Next is improved quality of decision. Because in an organization, we need to take a good quality decision, because you will be more conscious in taking decisions. Okay, you don't want your decision to create troubles, so you will be more conscious in taking decision. Next is stimulation of creativity and imagination. That is a healthy competition will take place between the group, and that leads to more creativity and innovations. Some that may lead to the production of a new products also. Next is encouragement of interest and curiosity. So that can lead to increased awareness of problems that need to be addressed. Then creation of an environment for self-evaluation and change. It creates, that means it creates an environment for the self-evaluation of employees to check whether their move is in the right direction. So these are the functional conflict outcomes, which is considered as a positive conflict. Next is dysfunctional conflict outcomes. The first one is the development of a discontent. Normally in a conflict, there will be a negative feelings will be formed between the groups. So sometimes such feelings that may lead to dissatisfaction for doing work together in the group. They have a unhealthy work environment in that particular organization. Next is a reduced group effectiveness. Means there is a thought of that some people will physically or mentally damage me, which leads a fear in their mind. So that will also sometimes causes more conflict between them. So a group effectiveness will be reduced here. That one person is fearing about other person, like whether he will be damaging me physically or mentally. So there will some unhappy environment will be comes, and a group effectiveness will be naturally reduced. Next is retarded communication. So normally when the conflict comes, the communication will be breakdown. Next is reduced group cohesiveness. Means the group puts aside differences and that closes ranks. Then infighting among group members overcome group goals. Sometimes group goal become more important than the organizational goal. The conflict will makes that group goals are sometimes it will become more important than the organizational goal. So next is conflict resolution techniques. So there are certain resolution techniques to solve this conflict. The first one is a communication. So if the organization is known, there is a conflict is happening between the two individuals, boss or the manager who is in the company, he can call for them and let them to talk each other to settle down their issues. That is a one method we can resolve the problem. Another is second is bringing in outsiders. Sometimes no conversation will be occurs between these two individuals, and we will, for in such cases, we'll bring a moderator from the outside, so they can talk each other in the presence of that moderator, and they can and the problem can sort out. And the third is restructuring the organization. If the conflict is on very high, which cannot be controlled by anyone, then better we can change the hierarchies, or we can transfer the employees to the some other offices, and sometimes we can done the rotation from one department to another department. So that is a common thing now happens also. Next is expansion of resources. The lack of resources is the one major reason for the occurrence of the conflict. So if you provide enough resources, um, and if the resources expanded, the conflict will also reduces itself. Next is avoidance. Avoidance, that is the best and most common thing to avoid the conflict. The more you avoid the particular people who let you in conflict, the lesser will be the occurrence. Next is compromise. Compromise, the persons who were in conflict, they can compromise for something, that conflict can also be sought out in such cases. So these are the various techniques for the conflict resolution. So that's all for today. So if you have any doubts, please ask in the Google Class or in WhatsApp group, and please again go through the old slides we have taken today. So I'm just winding up today's session. So thank you for listening. Take care.